What's happening? What's happening? You are now watching J.U.K Sports Show. I am the king of scatting. I am your host, King Ralph. Here with my boy, my homie. Your mic is muted. I don't know why, but your mic is muted. But
Okay, I'm
my
coming live.
co-host, the homie
There
Kai,
we go.
was popping, bro. How you feeling, fam?
Hey, I'm sorry about that, guys. Yep, I'm doing good. I'm doing good, man. We're getting close to the Christmas season. You know what I'm saying? So Christmas cheer. I finally put my tree up. So I'm good, bro.
Hey,
You know. Hey,
that's what's
bro. I
up,
usually
man.
wait till Christmas Eve to do it. So people should be
Hey,
proud.
I still gotta get a Christmas tree. I ain't gonna cap.
Or are you trying to get a real one or just a little
No,
artificial joint?
no, sir, not me, bro. Like in theory,
Yeah.
real trees are dope,
Oh yeah, but you got to water them joints too, bro.
but you gotta water them. They heavy.
Mm-hmm.
The,
I
the the
got
little
my face
bristles, like
scratched.
the little leaves from the tree, like the little bristles
Yep.
off the tree, bro. They
Yep.
just be falling off. If you don't got
Smell
like that
like
little
evergreen.
the little cape underneath the tree, it's gonna be a
Oh yeah,
bad
yeah,
time.
yeah. Yep. Smell like
Yeah,
cedar wood and evergreen.
for
The
real.
whole house.
But before we get this thing jumping, make sure you go and follow all the socials. I'm on Twitch. I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok as KYNGRALPH. Add an underscore for Twitter. Make sure you go on our physical, the actual show page on Instagram at J.U.K. Sports Show. Follow Kai at V.House of Hoops on Instagram
Yeah.
for any basketball breakdown analysis.
Break down.
Quality, high quality analysis here with no bias.
Appreciate it. Can't be biased, man.
Cannot be biased. Just got to tape don't lie. Hashtag tape don't lie. Let's send a little shout out to the sponsors. Haven't been in there in a minute, but if you want to do the photo shoots, music videos, podcasts like what you're watching, call the number on the bottom of the screen, 707 Fit Boxing. And just for a little bit of time, we had a couple losses over the weekend. Two in the sports world, one in my world. With the likes, what was it, Mike Leach,
Mm-hmm.
who was the originator of the air raid offense.
Yeah.
Paul Silas, coach of
The
what was
Cavs
father?
and
He was coach. He was LeBron's first coach, but what's his
LeBron's
son?
first coach, Steven Silas of Houston
Steven Silas.
Rockets.
Steven Silas.
Yeah,
That the
and he
coach
coached
of
the
the Rockets.
Wildcats too.
That's his dad.
Yeah.
So and then last night I had a homie that so like when we moved to Vegas, the first neighborhood that I lived in was up on the north side. Well, after my dad got out the Air Force, we eventually moved to this house that I lived in up until well after high school.
Mm.
And so I had a homie that I grew up in there. He committed suicide last night. And so I definitely wanted to give a little bit of time because I ain't seen bros in a minute. I actually used the Mickey's Pool Hall on Warm Springs and Eastern. Him and his pops used to work there for like the longest time. So I used to see him there because I love to play
Yeah.
pool. Uh, little known fact, I love playing pool.
I do
But
too.
uh, but we're gonna give it 30 seconds of silence starting now.
Yeah, condolences, man.
All right. So yeah, I just want to say rest up, Paul Silas, Mike Leach. Rest up, my boy Shane Honda.
To
That
the
was my
homies and
dog, bro.
everyone, man.
We used to
Yeah,
have some
man.
battles, bro. It was me, him,
Yeah.
the homie Tom, and my boy JoJo, bro. We used to have some battles out on the street football fields, bro.
Yeah.
Pretty much
Play.
anything. Like, we literally did like we was outside, bro. We was playing. I was what do they call it now? Because I know it's offensive to say queer. So like I don't want to offend nobody, but it was
Yeah,
called
yeah.
smear the queer. Like what do we call that?
Okay. but it was just the X or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's-
that we used to play that wiffle
yeah.
ball. We would lower the rims to where it was like 9 feet, but we used to be out that thing, yamming on folks. But jump straight into it, man. We're gonna go straight into the 2 minute drill. You know how we get down. Got a T.Y. Hilton signs with the Cowboys. How would you
Yeah.
rate this?
Honestly, on a scale of 1 to 10, I give it like a 4 or a 5, maybe. The reason being is T.Y. Hilton. He's always been a good receiver, reliable at the time. But his biggest issue was obviously health. And over the years, he's longer in the tooth. Um, they needed a receiver, I guess you could say, but Odell Beckham was the guy that they were going for, and the fact that they seemingly put all their eggs in that basket, and then they wound up having to get T.Y. Hilton. And there's no knock on T.Y. Hilton. I don't think it in short route doesn't move the needle. Like you know what I'm saying? Like don't move the needle. I think their defense, if they can get that run game going, and what Dak does, like we always talk about, can Dak actually take that team to the next level? Because I believe they have a ceiling with him as a quarterback. So for me, I'm gonna give it like 5 to 4. Just being honest, like kind of brutally honest. I just don't think it moves the needle.
For sure.
But who else is out there?
I feel that. I feel that because I do think that like it doesn't move the needle, but it is an addition.
It
It's like
is
having Deshaun. It's like to have what's his name, Deshaun
Deshaun
Jackson on your team.
Jackson. Yeah,
Like
right, and that don't really move the needle for
at
me. Either, but
times,
it's like at
at
times,
times he can take the top off of defense, which will
yeah,
open
yeah,
stuff up in the middle of like that 10 to 15 yard area for
yeah.
CD. And
I just
so
hope.
I do
Go
think
ahead,
that
my bad.
it's an addition, but it's not
Yeah,
like oh yeah, look at this offense about to
right.
start putting on points now. And so for me, I would rate it.
A little higher,
Nah, put it right where you got it at
a 5.
five,
Okay.
five.
I just don't want him to be like Julio was actually more productive than Ty, or they were on the same like production the last 3 years. You feel me? That's why I was thinking about
Yeah,
Julio, and Julio really looked
T.Y.
like
been hurt lately.
yeah, because Julio looked washed last year, and then this season he really didn't do nothing. So that's why
He's
I said five
he's
for
had
me.
certain moments
Yeah.
like in the
Yeah.
last game, Tom Brady just underthrew him, bro.
Oh well. Yeah, it's the
Tom
Bucks.
Brady out there playing like garbage, but
Hey, he ain't going out good right now, man. Brady need to just pack it up, man.
for real. And so wait,
Don't
wrong
tell
one. Did that one
don't tell
already.
Skip that though. Don't tell Skip that.
No, when he took his glasses off his face, I was like, yo, if
Yo,
they wasn't at work, that might have been another conversation. It probably
right.
might have went a different way.
He hit that high note,
But
man. But anyway, go ahead.
Kyler Murray, it was confirmed Kyler Murray has torn his ACL.
Hmm.
We've alluded to it off the camera. It was a topic of conversation at one point.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, prior to him getting that extra large contract.
Yeah.
But will he be able to bounce back in the NFL, or is he going to ride off into the sunset, play baseball?
I've always said that he would play baseball. That's what I always said. Now you said it was ACL, right?
Yeah,
So I mean, he'll probably come back, but I just think that baseball, I think that would be perfect for him. Because I think with his stature, I think with him, it seems to just from the outsiders looking in, right? From a fan perspective and looking at their game and hearing teammates and stuff, I'm not quite sure how likable Kyler Murray is as a teammate per se. I see him getting on the coaches. I see him getting in the face with DeAndre Hopkins. I hear what Patrick Peterson said about him, and people say, well, he should have, or Kyler said, well, he should have said such and such to me or called me and blah blah blah. And you can say that's true or not, but also what Patrick Peterson said is there validity to that? You know what I'm saying? Because I hear people saying there's validity to that. So in terms of a player, like I haven't seen Kyler Murray at all, despite the requisite piece around him, Ralph, really elevate the Arizona Cardinals. And this is a guy who I did like coming out of college, but I'm
yeah,
also going to keep it. I have to keep it what they call it, even Steven, or hold people accountable, just like I hold my quarterback accountable and other quarterbacks throughout the NFL. So I'm not quite sure. I feel like it should be on the clock for Kyler Murray if it wasn't already, because they already talked about study habits. Now I don't like the contractual type stuff, how they worded it, but now I think we're starting to see some things come to light. So, I hope his health, gets better and all that kind of stuff. But I'm just kind of on a I think he's on the clock for me.
Yeah,
I think, yeah,
yeah, most definitely. He was definitely on the
yeah,
hot seat after
yeah.
this season, and with the contract situation. Although we didn't like the wording, the fact that it
The
needed to
wording,
be in
yeah,
there in the first place was quite alarming. And like you mentioned, if you've been watching our show, shoot, all last year at the beginning of the season, we was raving about him being an MVP candidate, and then he just
yes,
fell off the map, and it wasn't. He hasn't been the same since then.
yeah,
And so it's like, yo, that gotta that gotta get looked at. We gotta put a magnifying glass in that and really take a real serious look at that because he was drafted at such a high status as a baseball player.
hmm
You would think that would still be a possibility if things aren't going the way that he would like them to go. Because like not to say that baseball is easier, like it's a disrespect to it. I
right.
do think that a lot of times when
Longevity
you
though.
got to talk about like the hardest position in all of
Sorry about that.
sports to be in, it's hard to play quarterback because you got to watch. You're in charge of so many other different people.
hmm
Where
And the
like as a
longevity
baseball
aspect.
player,
Yeah, go
as a
ahead.
baseball player, you don't necessarily got to tell them where they got to be at, but you can give them advice on like in techniques and things of that matter. But when it comes to the X's and O's, you can't really tell someone where to be at when this situation happens because a lot of it is just instincts. Not everybody has those instinctual habits.
And wasn't he a pitcher too? If I'm not
I
mistaken,
don't
was he a
remember.
pitcher?
I think he was like outfield, like an outfielder.
Outfielder? Okay, because I knew he was like he could. They were talking about him throwing and all that. Because I thought he was like a all world or all American pitcher or something like that.
He
So
might
I'm
have
like,
been
if
a
that's
pitcher, but
the
I
case,
just don't. Typically, pitchers are a little taller,
true. That is true. That is true.
and so him
But
being 5'8" is just not like it's not the
right,
size of your typical.
right, yeah, because like
Uh,
him being 5'8" and he throws that fastball and it comes right back at his head. You know,
and shout out
it's
to my pops. He said
yeah.
that game should be called "Kill the Man with the Ball." Kill a
Shout out,
man.
shout out to him, man.
Shout out to pops.
Yes,
Shout out to pops. Thanks for watching
Mr.
the show.
Cool, Mr. Cool.
And then up next, I'm trying to think, what was this last topic?
Pull it up. Make sure I turn my sound off on that. Let's see where we at. Number three,
So,
Chris.
oh,
Oh, MVP.
his last name is Williams, right?
Oh, Caleb
Caleb
Williams.
Williams.
Yeah,
All right, I have. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all.
yeah,
Outside of the Utah game, I didn't watch a lick of his football games, bro.
yeah.
He really came up out of nowhere when it came to me, and I had this conversation with Tar, and he mentioned having a conversation with you, so I'm sure you know he was talking about him all year,
Then we go with what Tar said, man, on that one.
right? So
No,
it's
but I
like,
don't. I don't want to come off as uninformed, though. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to
so
speak
he
on
wins the
certain players.
quarterback of USC
Yeah.
wins the Heisman Award.
hmm
Do you agree? Because it's like all I can really do is go based off of his stats.
Right.
And so for me, like I felt like there was other people. Like I hated that. What was it, Bennett Stetson or Stetson Bennett was in it because then it's like when you look at his numbers, it's like, bro, these are not Heisman worthy numbers.
I mean, he's throwing to the tight ends,
Right,
too. So you look at it from that standpoint. But I feel like as a sleeper pick, yeah, Caleb Williams, I think that he's definitely a worthy candidate. And we talk about, obviously with guys like Young and getting injured, dealing with injuries this season. So I think that there was a pathway for a guy like Caleb Williams to actually come through. And then we mentioned Shadur Sanders as well, but for whatever reason, they didn't want to give him looks um, based off level of competition, right?
right.
So like he would have been my personal pick because I laid down,
Playing from Ralph's iPhone.
where he ranked nationwide this year. So my pick personally was Shadur. Hopefully, hope I'm pronouncing his name from Jackson State. But Caleb Williams as that guy who had that pathway and played the competition based off the competition being the quarterback for USC. Um,
He has some
I'm
crazy
not. I'm
numbers,
not,
though.
I'm
I'm
not
not gonna lie.
opposed
I'm
to
sitting
it
here
though.
looking at these numbers.
Did you want to break
He
those down?
he threw for over 4,000 yards,
Which is insane. Yeah.
37 touchdowns, and four
Mhm.
interceptions.
4 interceptions.
4 interceptions in all the whole season.
So he did a great job of protecting the ball. If you're gonna, I always say,
Yes.
if you're gonna touch the ball the most, you should protect it, right? So I think when you look at it from that standpoint,
And he had
he
10
definitely has a
and he
case.
had 10 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah. So he's a dual threat
Right.
at that. Okay.
And me personally, you know me, I've been fighting for my boy CJ all year.
Yeah. And did I say Bryce or did I say CJ? No. I was thinking Alabama,
You,
right? Because I said
yeah,
injuries. Yeah. Okay. I thought
yeah.
I was right. Okay. Mhm.
CJ Ball,
Ohio.
it just was like, and that he just looked so bad in that last Michigan game that it's like kind of because even Caleb lost, but he looked good.
Right.
So like he didn't obviously play well enough to win the game, but at the same time he still looked good. So it makes it hard to take that award away from him.
Right.
Next up, we on our fast break. Dame Dame hits 11 threes to lead the Blazers to a 20-point victory over the Minnesota Timberwolves. We always have this debate on whether or not he's a superstar. Is it time to give him his flowers and hand that and put him in that category of superstars in the NBA?
I believe he is a superstar. I've always kind of felt that way. And this is coming from someone who's always been a big Kyrie Irving fan in terms of skill set and all that kind of stuff. But I want to shine light on Dame, and the reason why I bring Kyrie up is because those are two players who I felt tier wise, in terms of situational situations and all that kind of stuff. And even at one point in their careers, number wise, they had some similar numbers. Whereas a guy like Kyrie, he wound up only being able to win with LeBron. But Dame, after LaMarcus Aldridge left, Ralph, he always made the playoffs. He never missed the playoffs. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the only time he missed it was, if I'm not mistaken, the last year. Did they miss it?
Yeah,
Right. So prior to last season, Dame has always made the NBA playoffs, and we saw the CJ McCollum trade and et cetera. So he's been able
and
to
he
be
was
a
hurt for
leader.
a lot of it too.
Yeah, and he's been hurt. He's finished top 5 in MVP voting. Well, at least one time in his career. He's been clutch in multiple moments, right?
Yeah. He
In
had
the
some of the
regular
clutchest
season
playoff
and
moments.
playoff moments, exactly, and the playoff moments where you're supposed to perform. I think the only real knock on him you could say was when they lost to, I believe, the Pelicans when Rondo sliced and diced them up.
Yeah,
So shout out to Rajon
and
Rondo.
then when they lost that series to the Warriors,
Warriors in the conference
when
finals, because I think they
when
had a
Steph
double
was
digit
hurt,
lead. Yeah. They had the double digit leads and they just couldn't, they
right?
didn't close the deal. So I think those things withstanding, Damian Lillard, he's been the consummate professional. He's never, acted out of character or anything like that. Not saying he's a malcontent, but based off the situation and maybe not having the same resources as some of these other teams, he's never ran to a super team. For me, Damian Lillard is a superstar. Not everyone can win, and I feel like he saw what happened with Giannis. He's like, okay, well, maybe, but Portland, the front office isn't or hadn't shown us, me and you, Ralph, that they
Right.
were going to do same thing as the Bucks. But hey, shout out to the Trailblazers because it started off the season relatively fast in Chauncey Billups. But to answer that question, he's a superstar to me. He's a superstar to me. Just because like I've seen him lead without another all star and then CJ McCollum. And this is before CJ McCollum became who CJ McCollum was. So I
Right.
think he's a superstar, you know?
Me too, man. Like I definitely think that he gets slighted to a certain
Yeah.
degree because of his shortcomings, but I still feel like if we're gonna give like prior to LeBron really winning anything, we still gave him his flowers.
Right.
And so like, but I think with Dame, it's always like, well, he lost to this. It's like, yeah, but that team ended up winning the championship.
Right.
So
Like
like,
what go ahead.
at some point, you gotta like let it rock and be like, yo, he did not get the job done, but there's moments where he did.
Yeah.
So like, there's moments where he takes over a game. When he was in the bubble, look how fire you caught flame.
Yeah.
and single handedly like Allen Iverson esque defeated those Lakers team that ended up going and getting the chip in that bubble. So like
Yeah.
I think at
Carrying the
some
team
point
through
you got to
scoring.
start to realize the situations, look at what he's done and what he can do. Like you,
Yeah.
if you got one shot to take, you're gonna have to. He's a person that you're gonna bring up if you when it comes down to like that last shot.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. And I remember that a couple of years back they were talking about his percentage, because we always, not, I don't want to say bloviate because it's a well deserved. It's freaking Steph Curry, but we always talk about Steph Curry's greatness from beyond the perimeter and 3 point shooting. They showed like I believe Dame like his percentage is actually higher. I think they said the farther he gets back, not from Curry's, but in terms of his own compared to his own numbers, I think he was shooting like 45% from like 40 feet out or some crazy stat a couple years back.
Yeah,
And so I look at Dame in the same ilk of, I look at guys like Gilbert Arenas. They may not have gotten it done. And we know, yeah, he did miss those free throws, but he was carrying those Wizards teams. He was going really sparring with a young LeBron James, who was a generational talent. And they just could never really get to that next level. The
right.
Cavs team wasn't the Warriors team, don't get me wrong, but just being able to spar with those kind of guys, Gilbert always had multiple clutch moments. He was always in
Yeah,
the top 5 in the NBA in scoring. You know what I'm saying? Dame has been up there before. So I think with the Dames, I think I would maybe put him probably ahead of like a John Wall, even though John Wall was definitively the best point guard in the East in his prime. However, Dame didn't have that opportunity because Steph was actually there. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of
right,
like I can't knock him for that. So I would put him like a tier ahead of a John Wall because Dame could actually come through jump shooting and some
right,
stuff like
right.
that. So yeah, I agree with you, man. I think he's definitely a superstar. Yeah,
And so next up, it was a crazy moment just to think about because we grew up watching their dads, and that specific moment of them meeting that St. Mary's versus Oak Hill game.
yeah.
And then that's not the same game that LeBron got noticed, right? It was like the year after that when Melo left.
Yeah, Melo had left. Yeah,
Okay, so Melo's in college. LeBron is getting a game on ESPN versus Oak Hill, and they beat them like a drum, pretty much.
yeah. And Oak Hill
And
was undefeated,
so
if I'm not mistaken, too.
fast forward 20 years, they both have kids. Bronny being a senior,
Yeah,
not Lamelo,
Kean.
Carmelo,
Yeah, Kean Anthony
Carmelo's son Ken.
got that jump shot.
Yeah, water is wet.
Yeah, that
Uh,
jump shot.
and so they face off on ESPN. How big of a moment was this?
10 out of 10, man. It's 10 out of 10. To have your to have your son, be on a national scale for his ability to play basketball, and we know who his fathers are and those and et cetera with Carmelo Anthony and a guy of LeBron James caliber. I mean, that's huge. But then for them to play against each other and for them to actually be good players, right? And Bronny, like he just got his athleticism. Like you starting to see like the dude can really fly. You know what I'm saying? And there was
Yeah,
questions about, oh well, how good is Bronny and blah blah blah. And even I had my questions, and rightfully so. Because a lot of the times, Ralph, we see the better the player, the better the player, usually the son's not. It
right,
doesn't work
right,
like that, right? You have to be a role player or kind of a lower end. Like Del Curry was a role player, a good role player, but then Steph Curry just became a great shooter. So for me, just
right.
off of the strength of brand name, off the strength of their actual games, Melo's jump shot. I mean, Kean's. I'm sorry, I keep calling Melo. Kean's jump shot. Bronny, what he's able to do, man. 10 out of 10 for me. For me, I'm not even
Yeah,
like I don't even have to go look at go through stats and all that because stats don't tell the whole story, man. I'm not worried about that at this moment, man. I just think this is really we could really get a chance to see these guys, these young men in the league one day. For me, that's it's just a beautiful thing, man. I think where people shouldn't really take that for granted.
right. I always think that it is one of those things where it's like a catch 22 to a certain degree because you get those people that like you always think like, oh man, if LeBron was this, what would his son be like? But then it's like you get that son, and it's like you're expecting his son to play like him.
Right. Yeah.
But even like I'm telling you, don't expect to be seeing no LeBrons
Right.
for at least another 20 years.
Right.
There's a reason why we call him a generational talent. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you don't really get to see these types for that long. Like, think how long it took to get another KD. And we've been comparing people to KD for the longest. And how many KDs do we actually have?
Right.
So, like, even though that the game is getting to where people are taller, the taller guys can take you off the dribble. They have a much fluid game. They're still not KD.
Right.
So, you got to think about those things. So, it's like, obviously, he's a different player. He's a much better shooter at this point in his career than his dad was.
And he has to be for the way the league is too. Yeah.
He's just not that freak athlete. But like you mentioned before, we're starting to see those games. Where Key in his game is a little bit more raw because he is only a sophomore. But at the same time, you see that
he got potential.
Yeah, you see the potential, especially with the tutelage of his pops, having NBA friends like a Chris Paul, a LeBron James with such high IQs, and his dad was able to score in every way he possibly wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that Kian's game could possibly reach where Melo's was and surpass it. Where I think the expectation of Bronny is just like, hold off, let him be his own person. Because then they start comparing him to his brother, how his brother had that freak growth spurt out of nowhere.
That spurt, yeah.
Where like I can see his body type ended up being closer to like a LeBron.
Mm-hmm. And the only one that was missing, bro, is D Wade's son, man. He was all like he just all the radar. I'm like, yo, man, like, you know. So
I really wanted him to I really want him to succeed. He just gonna have he gonna have to get his out the mud.
He gonna have to get out the mud, bro.
Because I follow him on Instagram.
Okay.
And he's playing for the Salt Lake the Salt Lake
the G League or something now?
G League, yeah.
Oh wow. Okay, I'm about to peep some of his his highlights and stuff, because I remember when he was on when D Wade was upset on Inside the NBA, it was Candace Parker, Ernie, and D Wade was talking about like going up to the coaches and being I don't know. I don't want to put words in his mouth. I don't think he said something physical, but giving him a piece of his mind, all this. And Candace Parker was like, okay, because he kept harping on it, and people are like, D Wade, man, it's like just because you D Wade, like it ain't really rocking like that. They're finally gonna, and this goes for everyone, who's trying to get to that level, right? They're gonna really try to put him through the fire, right? And so as a father, obviously, and someone of his caliber, D Wade obviously wants his son to, be really great and do this and play and do these things. But like you said, Ralph, he got to get out the mud, and that was a couple years back, right? So
that's right.
So yeah. Thanks for putting me on, because I'm gonna definitely check out some of that tape.
Yeah, because I follow him, bro. Because I genuinely want to see him do well, like Jello. I want to see Jello's not really playing that well in the G League right now, but I want to see him. I want to see him get better. I want to see him in the league. I want to see like that story. At least if you're gonna say they're trash, then show me that they're trash. Because like unless you're going out there and your tape is just terrible. From what I've seen, those moments where Jello can get hot, he's a person that deserves an opportunity. The things that I've seen from Zaire, he doesn't have that crazy athleticism that his dad had, but you can see he has athleticism. The thing with him is he doesn't have the athleticism, but his jump shot isn't like Bronny's. Like at least Bronny got that jump shot, where like Zaire's is not. It's not the same ilk.
Oh yeah.
So
he had like an explosion too.
But he had an explosiveness that he didn't need the jump shot until a certain part of his career, which he was able to get that mid range.
Yeah.
And so I think that Zaire's got to get to a certain point where obviously the game is different, so he has to be able to hit hit that three at like a 35, 38 a clip.
Right.
Maybe 40 if he's playing in the G League because he'll be able to create more space. But like those are the things where I hate to see it happen to the boy. But like you said, got to get it out the mud. Wait, wrong one.
Out the mud.
Kawhi Leonard has some goes crazy against the Celtics. 25, 9 and 6 night, leading the Clippers over the Celtics. Celtics coming up on some major L's lately, honestly. But how would you rate last night's performance?
For Kawhi Leonard, I give him a 10 out of 10. I'm gonna give him a 10 out of 10. And yeah, he's my favorite player. I'm not gonna be biased. The reason why I'm gonna give him a 10 out of 10 is because I want people to think about something, right? He hadn't played in, what was it? They said 400, like 32 or 470 some days, if not more than that. That's a long time. That, like, guys, think about that. That's a long time. Then you got to think about the recovery process. And I'm not saying, like, I know he's played this season before, but I'm talking about this in totality, like, really, really got into it. That was a real first time when I really saw him look like his old self, like, period. Because when he came back, the other game we talked about, um, was last show. Like, and then he had the game winner. But this, like, he was hitting mid range, Ralph. He took them to the low post. He did a Mike Kobe. Has he spent? I'm like, what? And the thing is, he did it against a high caliber defensive type minded team with defensive philosophy in the Boston Celtics. We saw him go up against a Tatum. We saw him go up against a Malcolm Brogdon at the free throw line extended. We saw him go up against Marcus Smart, the reigning defensive player of the year. So for him to do it, I'm looking at the level of competition that he played. They tried to shut him down. They couldn't do it. They threw up everybody at him. He got to his kill spots on the court because Kawhi is a person who has spots. He likes to get to those spots. He looked comfortable. He shot a good percentage from the line, from the field. So based off of everything, I got to give him a 10 out of 10. And I'll end with this. With him, it's just him and Paul George's consistency. Me and you both came into the season talking about the if Clippers. If and buts were candy and you know what's, then we would all have a Merry Christmas. And that's the only issue with the Clippers is I never believed in their health going into this season. I feel like they've missed their moment. Their moment was 2021 when they made the conference finals and even the bubble. They missed their moment. But it's just health with them. So I give them a 10 out of 10. But as far as the team goes, unless they show like me and you that they can put together a run at some point this season where the whole team is healthy, go. But as far as Kawhi, he looked nice. He looked good. Like Magic Johnson would say, I feel good.
I give it a 9. I give it like an 8.5, 9.
Oh, he being stingy, man. No, stop. Go ahead.
It's still like because I think that like if you look at the stat line, 25, 9 to 6 is good, but we've seen him go off for like 35.
Oh, you wanted him to do a 40-piece stingy, man.
So like for me, if I'm gonna give you a 10, I've seen you go for like 35, 12, and 8. Like give me one of those types of nights, and then that's where I'll give you a 10. But you definitely were the lead player on a team beating a high defensive team, and you played very well. And I did see you look like yourself, so I'm gonna give him that 8.5, that 9, because I feel like you can still do better.
Hey Ralph, did you know this though? People, and this is where not you, but haters coming on this, right? I've heard this for years. This is me as a Kawhi fan. People are like, Kawhi, he can't be the best in the league. And I'm not saying he's the best in the league now, whatever. But like, Kawhi, he can't be the best in the league. He can't be better than KD or any of these people, because of this reason. Say any other reason, but they choose this reason. They say, he never scored 50 points in a game. I'm like, okay. Which is crazy, by the way. Don't get me wrong. Kawhi's actually never scored 50 points. You know what his career high is? 45. And after 45, he caps out, man. He's like, all right, shutting down my program.
But he's one of them dudes that's like, he can get his bucket when he want, but he's not aggressive enough to where it's like he's going
he's not a Kobe.
for 50s and 60s.
He'll never do that. He's not going to come like you say. He's not what you call an aggressive scorer. He's going to keep coming at you like that. You know.
Yeah, because he goes shoot about 20 shots at the most,
Mm-hmm.
like 20 to 25, and
Right.
then shoot about like he's gonna shoot a high clip with a lower
Right.
amount of shots. So like he'll have like them 13 for 20 nights.
Facts. And the thing is, he'll have like one of those nights, give you 10 rebounds and like 4 steals, and it will happen. So like, and you won't even really see it happening. And then you look at the stat sheet, I'm like,
Right,
what? This dude got like 10 and 4. Like,
right. With like with like 3 steals, bro. 3 steals,
facts.
10 rebounds, six assists, 25
Yeah.
points.
Right.
It's
With
just
a
like, dang, he low key dominated this game.
right with like a cool 91 from the free throw line or something. Like he
Oh
don't like the
God.
numbers. He like them odd numbers, like a 91%.
And then
All right.
last up, Kate Cunningham will officially be out for the season with a season-ending shin surgery.
I'll let
Is
you
there a
start that one
silver
off.
lining for the Detroit Pistons?
Okay. I'm gonna let you start that one off because I know I took the lead on the last topic, and I'll
You know
go.
what? I must say yes. There is a silver lining
Okay.
because we got Killian Hayes hitting the game tying or game winning game earlier in the week.
Mm-hmm.
We got Jaden Ivey who has played well. We got a Jalen Duren who is a good young prospect. Isaiah
This
Stewart
Bobcat
giving
we
him
got.
some toughness, wanting to fight everybody. What's old boy Sadiq Bey,
Oh, that
a
boy can hoop.
sharpshooter,
That boy can hoop.
right? And then you
Yeah.
got a Kate Cunningham. Now give them another year where we would think it just depends. Honestly, I think it depends on how much patience do they have. Because are they expecting because they've had high draft picks the last couple of years with Dwayne Casey? Are they expecting him to produce now, or are they going to give him patience because their major centerpiece is now out for the rest of the season? So they're going to give him another go at the beginning of next season when you have a Jaden Ivey in his second year, you have a Killian Hayes in his third year, you have a third or fourth year, you have Cade Cunningham going to his third year. So
Mm-hmm.
now at this point, you got to produce for me, or are they going to go in a direction where like we're not even getting close to the playoffs?
Right.
So how
So
crazy are we going to go about it?
yeah, so for me, I agree with you on the Detroit Pistons in terms of the silver lining and like moving forward. You know, is this going to be like I think it's a minor setback, but not a major setback. A minor setback for a major comeback. And the reason why I say that, Ralph, is because it is. We know what Cade Cunningham could do coming out of college as a playmaker, as someone who was supposed to be able to hit the three ball. He struggled his first season, but that happens with a lot of these guys. Getting into a rhythm, finding their shots, adjusting to the NBA defenses, etc., getting their legs underneath them, playing a longer season. So then in the following season, this season, right, we saw in the preseason, he showed something that he wasn't really doing in his rookie season, and that was attacking the basket aggressively. You could clearly
Right.
see he made a concerted effort to get to the line, to absorb contact. So I look at that. I look at him getting others involved. Now this is this first season where he has a complementary scoring piece who can be an aggressive scorer in Jaden Ivey. So you have that. Oh, then you further bolster your interior defense by getting a Jalen Duren, someone who I thought the Hornets should have got, but we're not going to talk about my
Right.
Hornets. You know what I'm saying? So I think you have a core there, and then maybe add some more vets on that team. So I think, with Dwayne Casey, I say keep him around. This is more of a 4-year project for me because you have the injury, and then you only really have
Facts.
half a season of getting that co-star or potential co-star that you hope involved. And then finally, it's also we have to look at sometimes you can't just look internally. We gotta look at it externally. Let's think about the teams that are around. Who's really the creme de la creme of the Eastern Conference? Well, we have questions about the Brooklyn Nets, although the media is being hush hush about how well they've been playing, but they have yet to win a championship, right? Then you have the Bucks, who are actually a little older in the tooth. Actually, they're the oldest team in the NBA. So we're going to see how long that goes. But Giannis is always going to be there. And we have the Boston Celtics. Now, I'm not saying that next season or season from now, the Pistons are going to be like in the NBA finals and all that kind of stuff. But I'm just saying that the teams up in the Eastern Conference, Ralph, since I know you're a Bulls fan, when you look at like after like the first 5 teams, none of those teams really woo and subdue you. You have the Knicks, the Bulls are
Right.
kind of going through some transitions. The Pacers, everyone's going to be tanking for Victor Wembanyama. The Hornets, look at the teams that are kind of around the Detroit Pistons. So I think that gives them solace as a fan base, where it's like, oh man, we had this setback, but maybe brighter days are to come. So I think that internally and externally, this is something that they can work around moving forward.
Yeah, man. I'm sitting here looking at their the roster, and they got a good
Mhm.
young. This,
Yeah.
everybody's young, bro.
Mhm.
Like Jalen Duren is 19, Kate Cunningham is 21. Then you got Killian Hayes 21, Jaden
Yeah.
Ivey is 20, Isaiah Stewart 21, Marvin Bagley is on the team 23,
Right.
Sadiq Bey 23. So it's like a lot of their core is young. So if they could just add another piece, so like let's just say you for the future you want to run a Jaden Ivey, Killian Hayes, Sadiq Bey, Cade Cunningham, and a Jalen Duren.
Right.
Like I feel like at that point you kind of look for a two
Yeah.
because you have a Sadiq who's going to play your 3-4. So whoever your 2 or 3 is that you're going to put next to Cade is where it's going to boil down to, unless you just straight up running him at as a straight up point guard, which I don't. I think they're giving Ivy that spot.
Yeah, because Ivy can play combo too. That's the thing, because
Exactly.
he can slash. So we can't underestimate the ability to slash. Because sometimes it's like, okay, well, your two guard may not necessarily be a someone who's just gonna put up a bunch of threes. He could be a slasher. We saw
Right.
D Wade could slash the ball because D Wade was never this all world 3-point shooter, but he had the mid range. So if Ivy
Right.
maybe gets that, or vice versa. So I like what you're saying because I always kind of thought they were trying to do like a Dame, a Portland CJ and Dame kind of situation. But the cool thing with the Pistons is Kay Cunningham, remember now, he can play the defensive role. He's 6'8", long
Right.
wingspan, can defend multiple positions, and has made a concerted effort to defend multiple positions. So I think if you add like a veteran piece in that team too to get some veteran leadership, I think that could really help them adjust to the next step. Maybe somebody with some playoff experience on that team.
Right.
So yeah.
Right. Right. And so before we get to these NFL power rankings,
All right.
the NBA has Twitter up in arms right now with the
Yeah.
naming of some of these trophies. So they pretty much gave a name to every trophy that they have that they give out at the end of the year.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
while I pull these up, I know the MVP trophy. If as you know, the Eastern Conference Finals trophy was the Larry Bird trophy.
Yeah.
The Jim O'Brien trophy is now the Bill Russell trophy for the. Is the Bill Russell trophy the Finals
Finals.
MVP?
It's the finals. That's
So
never
the
going to
Jim
change.
O'Brien is the championship. The Finals MVP is now the Bill Russell. The Eastern Conference is Larry Bird, and the Western Conference is Magic Johnson.
Yep.
Then
Mhm.
the MVP is Michael Jordan. The
Yeah.
Michael Jordan Trophy. The Defensive Player of the Year is Hakeem Olajuwon. The
Yep.
Rookie of the Year is Wilt Chamberlain.
Mhm.
The Sixth Man of the
John
Year is John
John
Havlicek.
Havlicek.
The
Mhm.
Most Improved is George Mikan. And the new Clutch Player of the Year is Jerry West. The Jerry West Trophy. So like, I really was like, there was some spots where I disagreed. Like I mentioned off here.
Yeah.
I thought like when you mentioned some of the ones from the bottom, they're so egregious that the Akeem Olajuwon is just like the cherry on top. So like when you start going
Yeah.
from the bottom, you go to George Mikan for the most improved. But like when you go and look at his numbers, his stats go down in every year after his first year. So what about that is most improved? John Havlicek. When you think of the sixth man, you think of Jamal Crawford, Lou Will, maybe a Ginobili.
Mhm.
Like if you want to go back in the 80s, you got the Vinnie Johnsons, the Dennis Johnsons, but like, come on now. But John
Mhm.
Havlicek, my man, they played in 70 years.
Yeah, Bobby Jackson's. I'm not saying Bobby Jackson is going to win the trophy, but
Right.
you know what I'm saying, man. Hey, Bobby Jackson was cold off that bench. He used to give the Lakers work.
But then you got
So
the rookie of the year with Wilt. Wilt came in day one. It was a problem, so I don't really
yeah,
have an issue with it.
one of my favorite interviews was his rookie year. He said, "Yeah, I believe there'll be a period of orientation." And then after that, he averaged 50. I was like, "Yeah, right."
Right. Right. Right.
That
and
was his
then
first interview, bro.
I feel like the Elijah Wan one was just like the kind of cherry on top. Like I felt like
Mhm.
but I still to this day I will put Elijah Wan up against any big in the history
Okay.
of the NBA.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
As I that if we are picking five and you got to pick by position,
He's my five.
he's getting
He's my
that
five.
five
Yeah.
spot. If someone picks him before me, I'll take Joel. But
Okay.
I still want the original.
Okay.
But like
I'm cool with it.
Mutombo, Ben Wallace,
I like the Ben
they
Wallace
won
pick.
more Defensive Player of the Year awards. So like if we're just gonna talk about like,
Yeah.
but also at the end of the day, just because they won that award, does that make them better defenders? Because like we talk about all the
Mhm.
time, Elijah Wan's versatility
Yeah.
was is unmatched. The ability that
Mm.
high pick and roll
It's
guard you in the
film.
post,
It's on film too. Like he was
right,
running down people, running like a center running down guards, like you know,
right,
full court.
right,
So I mean, like,
right. And so I think that his versatility as a defender is very much so unmatched. So
right, right.
that's where like I can see where people are coming from, but his
Mhm.
versatility was unmatched. So I do think that he's the greatest defender of all time.
Yeah, yeah. One of the greatest
And
two
then
way, they call them two-way players, him and Jordan. Like if Jordan played with Elijah one, that was kind of
right,
always the dream thing. Hey, the
yeah,
dream, no pun intended. Like if MJ had Elijah one, he wins 12 chips. Come on.
right. For real. And so I think that like then to use Jordan to bring the Jordan into the conversation, he gets the
Yeah.
MVP trophy.
Mhm.
However you want to feel about that, because Kareem had six.
Yeah, that's I was thinking about that. And players voted for it, so it's not like the media could use
Right.
thing against them. You know what I'm saying? So
So, but at the same time, it's like Mike is universally, although the MVP is not,
right,
it doesn't mean the best player in the league,
it's
but
valuable.
it also
It's supposed to be
does.
valuable, but
It's supposed to be most valuable. Who's more valuable than Mike? When it's been proven, you win because you have Mike.
yeah,
What does everybody say? They were like,
yeah.
well, they had Mike.
Do we have a slam dunk? Do we have? Is it the slam dunk trophy? They haven't touched that yet, right?
No, not yet.
Because they've been touching
No.
up. So my thing is, so now my quick piece before we go into the power rankings is this. I thought because I posted on Instagram, I was like, I said, nah, all this stuff to me, it just wasn't it. I like they're doing it, so I have to. Well, I don't have to accept it, but it is what it is. You feel me? But like that's why I text you back. I was like I feel like somebody just woke up and was like, hey, let's just change everything. I'm like, man, how about you like do something else with the NBA or make the All-Star game better or something, something like that. Like you just woke up,
Right.
let me just change all this stuff. So I had that. That was one thing, just the idea of it. And then two, okay, don't touch all these trophies, but if you touch the slam dunk trophy, rename it the Michael Jordan, no, the Vince Carter trophy or something.
Right. Right.
And when I think of Jordan, it's not that I don't think of MVPs. I kind of think of Bron. I really do, just because he's a system. I really do think of Bron. But for Jordan, for me, just for me, Ralph, I always think of Jordan in the finals.
Yeah.
Because and people say, well, Russell, there's the Bill Russell is tradition. I get that. And rest in peace to the late great Bill Russell. But, and they'll say, well, he has all the chips, Kai. I'm like, but who performed at the highest level on the grandest stage, the best out of any player, was MJ. He averaged 41 and like whatever in 93. He freaking 33 and 12 versus match. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
Jordan never had a bad finals performance. He had a lower tier one versus the the Sonics versus with Gary Payton. So I just feel like there's something with the NBA Finals and Jordan's name not being attached to it at all bothers me. You have everyone else's name attached to it, but Jordan's isn't attached to any conference championship, any finals trophy. I would probably swap him out, put Bron only because, and I know Bron fans, are, oh, you're giving us a bone, but it's because I know as a kid, as an 18-year-old kid, I still remember being on the East Coast. Like, bro, like Mike Brown's not winning no coach of the year without running ISO LeBron. So like give him something. And I felt like the lack of 2000s in later recognition, maybe like the 2000s era, basketball did not end in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I'm like you said, 6 man of the year, Jamal Crawford, Lou Will,
Right.
like there's not one dude from the 2000s at all. Shaq, somebody. I mean, you mean to tell me that none of our people that we grew up with are like legends, but you put some of these players who I believe aren't really better than a lot of these players that after the turn of the century. But that's just me. You know, I'm not
Yeah. Yeah. They're not really players. They just
saying,
old.
right. Like I'm taking Shaq over like 15 players that they listen. But anyway, let's move on before I piss somebody off.
And on to the NFL power rankings.
you know,
You know us. We gotta kind of speed through it a little bit because we
yeah,
don't
we can
have
do
as
that. We can
much
speak through
time.
it. All right.
So I'm gonna
So you
shout
can do
out
two. You want to do
Dolphins at
three each?
10.
Okay.
Yeah, Dolphins at 10. As much as I want to get
Mm-hmm.
the Lions some credit with some of the victories they have, I'm gonna go with the Dolphins. That offensive firepower.
Okay.
It's just whether or not can they create a pass rush to get some stops on the field on defense.
Okay.
Chargers at 9. Although they were in my division, I had the Chargers doing big things this year, so it's good to see them on the uprise.
Mm.
Then we got the Ravens at. Am I gonna go Ravens? No, I'm gonna go Vikings because I'm gonna go Ravens over because the Vikings lost.
Mm. Okay.
But I'm gonna go Vikings at 7 or 8. So that puts my Dolphins at 10, Chargers at 9, Vikings at 8, and I'm gonna let you take over.
Okay, so I'm gonna go with the Lions at 10. I like the way that Jared Goff has been playing, Ralph. Once again, I believe he was on one of our candidates for NFC Player of the Week. And then at 9, I'm gonna go with the Chargers. They got a gutsy win against the Miami Dolphins. Justin Herbert putting on his best John Elway QB run impersonation again. And Austin Eckler has to be the most underrated back in the league. I know it's stats, but I feel like he's underrated. Him and Nick Chubb. And then at 8, I'm going to go with the new era 8 team, resilient team, the defense, best. I'm going to say it right now, the best linebacker duo in the NFL. Roquan Smith said it with Patrick Queen finally being in his natural position with Roquan Smith. They got out a gutsy win with two different quarterbacks down to the third. And it was a division win. So I think that usurps them over those teams. So those are my 3. Yeah.
And then
So
shout out your
Lions,
next 3.
yeah. Okay, my next 3, I'm gonna roll with the Minnesota Vikings, man. Yeah. So Kirk Cousins, he's doing his little thing. Justin Jefferson, I put him down once again. I believe I put him down for NFC Player of the Week candidate. Just I believe between him and Devontae Adams this year so far, they're sparring for the best title. I know the Raiders situation is not so much. And then after that, I'm gonna have to go with the Kansas City Chiefs. It's just outside my top 5, man. So I'm gonna go with the Kansas City Chiefs, and then I'm gonna go with number 5. I'm gonna go with the Dallas Cowboys. They brought in T.Y. Hilton, so you can see that they're looking to get some wide receiver help. Ezekiel Elliott came up big in the clutch, so I'm gonna put them at number 5.
And so for me at 7, I got the Baltimore Ravens. I think that
Okay.
addition of Roquan is paying big dividends for them, especially in the
Mhm.
middle of the field. I think that me and you, we both agree we had high hopes for Patrick Queen, and you
Yeah,
had recently started to give up on him.
I know I did.
Uh, and so the way that he's been playing with the addition of Roquan,
He's
I don't
been
know if
balling.
it's the fact that he's now in his natural position that he played before. Maybe he has a little bit more confidence knowing that and trust in the player
Combination.
of the. It could be a combination of them
Yeah,
all,
combination. Yeah,
but the
combination.
defense is playing and responding in a manner since the addition of Roquan.
Yes, sir.
And then next up, I got the Cowboys at 6, just outside of the 5. The
Okay.
way that they played the Texans being one of the worst teams, because even we took care of them handily
That
when
is
we
true.
played the Texans,
That is true.
and we're not even to even that stature or that ilk of talent and team and expectation altogether,
Yeah.
honestly. But
Dysfunction a little bit, but
yeah, a lot of dysfunction over here. But the next up in scraping the bottom of the top five, Chiefs after losing. I got the Chiefs in just at
okay.
the after that loss to the Bengals. Man, they just can't get it done against the Bengals. I don't know why.
Mm.
It's one of those things. It's puzzling to me, but it just is what it is.
Yeah.
Next up, I got the Bengals at 4
Mm.
with that
Interesting.
victory. They looked like a lost cause at the beginning of the year. Look up
Yeah.
now. Their record is 9-4, coming off of a
Mm-hmm.
victory against the Chiefs, getting Jamar Chase back for the stretch run. I think that they're gonna be another. They're gonna be another. They're not a sleeper this time. So at least at this time, at this point, you can see them coming. So
You have
we'll see
expectations.
how they respond to that. Next
Mm-hmm.
up, the Bills been in this top 4, top 5 conversation all year. I have them going far within this thing.
Okay.
Um, Clicking at the right time, finding a way to get a victory against a tough defense and that Jets with saucing them boys.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then next up, the best defense in the league,
Mm-hmm.
arguably, and still finding ways to get these victories. The 49ers coming up, they're real banged up, but I can
Yeah,
only
they
give
are.
them credit for what they've done, not what they're going to end up doing. So I got the 49ers at 2.
Okay, so I'm gonna go with the Bills at number 4. I'm not a hater. I'm just a realist. No, I'm playing. No. He's like, man, what do you have with the Bills, man? You ain't gonna let this die, man. The Buffalo Bisons. No, but they lost Von Miller, but remember now he's also a vet, and so we see guys like Greg Rousseau who had been coming on strong, etc. So I'm gonna go with the Bills at 4. We know that Josh Allen is going to continue to get healthy, Ralph, with his injury, so he's gonna power through that. So I got them at 4. And then at number 3, I'm gonna go with the Cincinnati Bengals. They're a team, like you said, for all the reasons that you said, getting high at the right moment, getting healthy at the right moment. They're on a run going into the. They beaten the Chiefs, a team that was like a top 2 team for a lot of people. They prove that they're the kryptonite of the Kansas City Chiefs thus far. And then at number 2, I'm gonna go with the Bang Bang Niner gang. You know what I'm saying? So for them to come through and win against a team and how they won against the Bucks. I always look, it's one thing to win and lose, but how you win uh in the fashion they won, the dominance that they won with the lack of support via attrition. I'm gonna go with the Niners at number 2. And then number 1, I think we both agree with
Yeah.
Fly Eagles Fly, the national
Fly
bird
Eagles fly,
of,
man.
of
That boy Jalen
the
Hurts out there throwing that thing. Pause.
MVP of the league.
I wanted that to be a topic, but I didn't have enough. I knew we
Oh,
wouldn't have enough time for it.
yeah.
Where we give our predictions
Right,
because you
right,
got
right.
the likes like you got like Tyreek, who is paying dividends for that offense, but then you got Justin Jefferson, who quietly going off for 200 almost every week.
Offensive player of the year for me, probably.
Right, but then it's like
Yeah,
at the same time, Jalen Hurts took his game to the next level,
all the
and
way.
it's paying dividends, man, to the point where he could possibly win an MVP. When a couple years ago, we were
Talking about that at
we,
all.
we were thinking about whether or not is it time to move on from him.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but anything you want to add before we get up out of here?
Yeah. Anything else I want to add when I get up? Oh yeah, everyone stream King Disease 3, man. So that's how we that's how we doing it, bro. Keep streaming. Any albums you want to promote, anything like that. Also follow us, on our socials.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, but definitely stream that album. It's a fire album, guys. So yeah.
All right, all right. Thanks for watching. Got to get up out of here. Bye, y'all.
Peace.